Merhabalar tekrar. LeWeb Konferansı'nda çok heyecan verici bir isimle birlikteyiz. Çok fazla da ünvanı var kendisinin. Guy Kawasaki, özellikle ve bazı okuyucuları, izleyicileri kendisini çok yakından tanıyorlar. Hemen söyleşimize geçelim. Mr. Kawasaki, thanks a lot. Actually, it's really exciting to have you with us.
Must be a boring day for you today, so okay.
Well, seeing you is really exciting and covering everything else. And before the Brazil audience in Turkey, especially.
I love Turkey.
Oh, really?
Oh, I've been there many times. Only Istanbul, but I love Istanbul.
So you've been there as far as I know, 3 times, right?
I think it's 3, yeah. I love the Grand Bazaar. I love the food. I'd come to Istanbul anytime.
We'll see. We're really glad to see you there so often.
In fact, last night my wife told me, how come you don't have a trip to Istanbul so I can go? So
okay, you're welcome, more than welcome.
Tell Turkcell to invite me.
All right, I will ask them. And let me start then with a question about Turkish ecosystem or startups, which is in a very early stage still compared to the US and Europe. How do you see it from outside?
You know, the nature of my travel means that I very seldom get to really meet a lot of people. I mean, I fly in, I speak, I fly out. I mean, you know, if I'm there 2 nights, it's a long time. So I don't know, honestly. You know, I am truly a believer that the world is flat and that probably, you know, an engineering student in Istanbul is just as good as an engineering student in Silicon Valley, and they can just as likely to create the next Google as anybody else. So I truly do believe that. I think the key is the engineering school of your universities.
The schools are not bad. I agree with that. But I mean, in terms of the legislation, the functioning of the economy sometimes may put some barriers before the startups. You were talking about that as well, answering a question from a South African actually during your conversation with Loic Lemur, and you said that the countries should prepare themselves to create a better startup environment, which comes to the question of legislation mostly. And in Europe, in European Union, sometimes American companies, don't you think that they're having some problems with the legislation?
I have no idea. I don't, you know, I think every entrepreneur faces challenges. So, you know, maybe some countries are easier than others, but if entrepreneurs are waiting for this perfect world where financing is easy and marketing is easy and recruiting is easy and scaling is easy, they'll never start a company. That's just the way it is. If they wait for that day, they're not an entrepreneur. They should just start.
Do you think that more and more American companies in the last couple of years are turning an eye to the European markets? And if so, why do you think so?
Well, I mean, you know, from any company's perspective, you have to think global today. And there's, you know, 350 million Muslims, and there's 350 million Latin-speaking people, and there's 300 million Americans, and you know, the magic number seems to be 300 million. So, and then there's 1.5 billion Chinese. So, I mean, that's where you go. I mean, at some level, it's a numbers game.
The theme of this event is next 10 years, and while you're talking with Loic, maybe to the frustration of Loic, you said that it's impossible to predict.
It is impossible, and I'd like to see somebody predict something 10 years from now, because 10 years ago, Facebook didn't exist, Twitter didn't exist. You know, I mean, none of these things existed, so I don't know how you could have predicted that. I'd like to see a prediction that's 10 years old that said someday, you know, a company called Facebook would be the operating system of the internet. Go find me that prediction. It doesn't exist. So.
Another example which comes to my mind is this payment systems. I mean, it's really interesting issue actually. Do you think that what will happen to banks?
It's going to be a long time before they go away, but book publishers will go away before banks. but it's going to change. It's definitely going to change. And, you know, has Square put Visa and American Express and MasterCard out of business? No, but it's definitely changed, you know, people's expectations of point of sale, right? So That's just the way it is.
And you're publishing a new book. Can you tell us a little about your new book?
Yeah, my latest book is called APE and stands for Author, Publisher, Entrepreneur, and it's how to self-publish a book. So that's my latest. I'm about to revise The Art of the Start. So, that book is now 10 years old. So that's why I know what it was like 10 years ago. So that's my two current writing challenges.
So lately you're more writer than, I don't know, maybe investor?
I'm much more, well actually I'm basically an advisor to Motorola more than anything else. And so the order is kind of speaking and Motorola and then writing and then investing. I don't invest that much right now.
I really look forward to seeing you again in Turkey as a speaker, as a mentor, I don't know.
I hope so. I would love to return to Turkey. So.
Thanks a lot, and it was a really honor to have you with us.
Thank you. It's my honor.